In this part of the series, we're going to break down 3 jazz legends, Miles Davis, Kenny Garret, and Larry Goldings, and look at how they're masters of the most important thing in all of improvisation, motivic development. I'll show you motivic development examples and motifs from some select solos, how I practice them myself, and how you can start applying the same ideas to your own playing. If you ever feel like your solos wander aimlessly and don't really say anything, this is going to change that forever. All right, let's dive right in. Let's start with the obvious master of less is more, Miles Davis. So from his solo on the tune So What, listen to how he repeats a short idea using just a simple pentatonic and just changes the placement and contour slightly each time. It's pure motivic storytelling. So what's happening here? He starts it on beat 2, and then he starts it on the and a beat 1. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2. And then he starts it on beat 1. Especially that last phrase there is genius. So notice how it's basically the same rhythm, but he just shifts where he lands it or changes one note, and this is known as displacement, and that's what gives it interest in direction, even though it's a lot of just the same notes. And as you can see, it's a really simple phrase. The notes themselves are really simple. So when you practice this, just take 2 or 3 notes, and you can do this over, a D minor 7 or D Dorian vamp, like So What, and just force yourself to say something with only those notes. So, for example, he kind of outlines, right, like a D minor triad there with the 11. So you can just start to displace it and use it in different ways. You can even invert it and invert the notes and use that. You can even use this over 2-5-1s. Let's say C major. So you realize pretty quickly that phrasing and intention, especially when you play it and displace it, matters way more than actual note choice. All right, the second example, Kenny Garret, one of the most fearless modern voices in jazz, is a master of storytelling in his solos. And on the Fats Navarro tune Boperation, he takes a short, punchy little motif and develops it rhythmically in a way that's both aggressive and lyrical at the same time. So here's the example. So we have this F major 7, E flat 7, D flat 7. And what I love about this is how Kenny uses some rhythmic persistence. It's not just the notes, it's how he keeps that same rhythmic cell and drives through it over the different changes. And in this key over the D flat 7, that's a pretty tricky fingering wise, because if you notice and you've been playing jazz, especially bebop, a lot of lines on the saxophone or the trumpet don't exactly translate as well to the piano because it's a different layout, but it can be done in other keys. But D flat and G flat are going to be similar layouts, and and it's pretty tough to make that leap there. So just try it out in different keys, see how it works for you. But yeah, D flat itself is pretty tough. So you can practice this by looping the rhythm or just even the same kind of phrase over a 2-5-1, or even on an individual chord, changing only the notes but keeping the rhythm identical. So you can use this on 2-5-1s, and let's say if it's this on the D flat 7, you can use that on the 2 chord if it's a 2-5-1 to G flat. So you can use that on the A flat minor on the 2 chord. For example. So you can play this on a standard 2-5-1 as well. I mean, you can just change some of the notes, maybe alter some on the dominant chord. Example, and you just have to try different starting places. I like that because you hit the 7 and the 6, and you can even try, well, does the original one work? Let's see. Not bad, you can land on the 9, but these are the things you have to try and experiment with. So as you can see, it can work over any chord of a 2-5-1. It can work on a minor chord, a major chord, and a dominant chord. And you can even try, say, on a C7, and you can use this on an altered dominant if you want a little more color. Instead of like a plain Mixolydian sound like this, you could do, for example. So like I said, you can change only the notes but keep the rhythm. You can riff on the principle of what's happening here. You can try using it over different chords. I mean, the possibilities are really endless, and this is how you really build a vocabulary and some ways to build your own sound, variation through rhythm, and vice versa. All right, let's talk about the third example. This is Larry Goldings on the Pat Metheny tune Timeline. And Larry is one of those players who says more in a single bar than most do in a full solo. And he's a master of motivic development. And on this tune, Timeline, which is a D minor blues, let's listen to his playing, which is from a live set with Pat Metheny, Michael Brecker, and Bill Stewart. That's a hell of a lineup. And he takes a subtle motif and spins an entire story out of it. And this first phrase is over the turnaround section, so that's B flat 7, A7 altered, to the D minor. All right, let's take a listen. So notice he's just using a D minor pentatonic and playing the motif slightly differently throughout to develop it. So you can apply this to a minor blues turnaround or even a standard major blues turnaround. Like let's take the 1-6-2-5 in F. So you could use it there. It doesn't even have to be the whole thing. It's just you're taking that motif through a sequence, and you can mess with the rhythm, and there's a lot of things you can do. So let's look at another example of what he plays here. And this is over a cycle of 2-5s, which will be very useful for playing most jazz. Let's take a listen. So it's going to the turnaround in the minor blues form. And notice he's just using some triads here, 1-2-3-5 patterns. He's using a G triad. So you can match the rhythms or even come up with your own little variations. So you can practice this by extending the motif into new chords, keeping the same phrase intact, like all these things. And this will teach you how to create longer, more connected ideas rather than just running scales or patterns. All of these ideas are what take your lines from being the right notes to being melodic and intentional. It's the difference between playing the changes to telling a story over them that grabs the attention of the listener It gives them something to grab onto and follow, even if they don't know the notes or theory of what you're playing. It's what makes your solos actually stand out. And tell me, which example was your favorite? Leave a comment below and tell me which solo or motif was your favorite. It's so important to learn from listening to what these legends did. Listening is everything in this music, but there's so much out there it's hard to know what to focus on sometimes. That's why I included the Ultimate Jazz Piano Listening Guide as a bonus inside my course, The Complete Jazz Improv System. In it, I go much deeper into a whole host of different motivic development techniques that will seriously level up your playing. You'll find much more step-by-step guidance, examples, exercises, and everything you need to take your jazz soloing skills to the next level. Link is in the description below. And if you're serious and looking for high-level mentorship, there's also a link for that. Fill out the short form and book a call with me to talk about your goals and what's holding you back. In the next video, we'll look at specific exercises and ways you can start to apply motivic development to your own playing. Link is right here on screen. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.